Hello football fans and welcome to View from the Sideline podcast. Coming up this week in the Premier League review, we look back at the action from the weekend with draws for United, Chelsea, Arsenal and Spurs, giving Leicester and Palace an unlikely place in the top four, and VAR giving Villa fans plenty to talk about. We'll be looking to keep a 100% record with another teaser from Pete. We have more stats in the wonders of why, and has Chris given up in the predictions challenge. We have the EFL review and Yeovil Watch, and we'll also be taking a look back at last week's Champions League draw. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Rich here, and as always, Chris is with us. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Rich. You okay?
How you doing? Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good. Lots of action over the weekend, so plenty to talk about. So without further ado, we'll go straight into Pete's teaser. So we're free from free. So let's see what Pete's got for us this week.
Well done for last week's answer. This week in Premier League history, which club have lost the most matches?
Good question, Pete. That's a good one. Any ideas, Chris?
I have an idea.
There's going to be lots of people to choose from. I guess we need to just think about who's been in the league the longest.
I would suggest that's where we start. Probably Tottenham.
And then we'll yeah, good one. And then we'll work back from that. So we'll come back to the teaser at the end of the podcast. See if we can be 4 for 4. So we'll get straight into the Premier League action from the weekend. And especially for you, Chris, we're going to start at Stamford Bridge. So earlier in the week, you said that you were happy with a point at home against Sheffield United. I'm calling you out on the podcast. Your views, please. Was that a true statement? And
that
your
was
views?
That was not a true statement. I was just winding you up. My view on the actual game itself is it's another game where we should have just wrapped it up in the first half. This is exactly the same case when we played Leicester, a couple of weeks back. Just didn't finish the chances, and we didn't create enough, I didn't think. And it's like as soon as you concede 40 seconds into the second half, you're kind of going to be on the back foot a little bit. So it was disappointing, but I guess that the kind of silver lining on it all is that Tammy Abraham scored twice again. I think we both sort of said at the start of the season we were slightly concerned where the goals might come from. But I thought it was 2 well taken goals, but the defence, Sheffield United's defence, kind of helped out a little bit. But the game was full of errors, to be honest with you. But it's hard. I know Azpilicueta has come under a lot of scrutiny this weekend as well.
I'm glad you can say his name.
All in the papers are saying that obviously when this young Reece James is fit to play, that he'll be the number one choice. So time will tell. But
it's a strange. It's a bad time to concede, isn't it? Just before half time or just after, because it either completely changes your halftime team talk, or
everything that was said is out.
Yeah, absolutely. If they score early in the second half, just on Tammy Abraham, I think I've got to sort of hold my hands up. And I mean, he's got four in his last 2, all very good finishes. And I was a bit worried about where the goals would come from, but I credit where it's due. I think he's played really well. Both the goals for Chelsea were defensive mistakes from Sheffield United. But flip that over. The way the way that they came back was pretty impressive.
Yeah, no,
I'm going to refer to him as Dave because he's now Dave as far as. But I mean, he gets nutmegged, didn't he, for I think it was the first or second goal. And then the ball gets the ball goes into the box, and they're almost zonal marking even from like a cross for me. And the attacker just it's almost wants the ball a bit more, gets to it. I mean, both goals were quite similar. I thought they both came down the left, down Dave's side. I think teams are starting to pick him out really and go down that side. But you fooled me, Chris. To be honest, I thought it was honest. You were quoting Sheffield United's away record like sort of
that is
expert.
actually true. That is actually true. Their away that like they've lost one in their last 16 away games. That was actually true.
Yeah.
True. But where we go from now, I our next game is against Wolves as well, and I know they haven't won yet in the season, so they're going to be well up for that. So
you're a different side without Kante playing, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk I've heard since the game about almost how Chelsea are playing, how Lampard used to play. Going forward, they're quite free flowing, but on going the other way, there seems to be a bit of an issue. I mean, Lampard was never known for his defensive play when he was a player. He just wasn't that sort of player. He had people like Makelele in there who would do that job for him. I don't know.
Mount, I think, has been our best player this season so far, which is, considering he was playing in the Championship last season, I think he's done awfully well.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's just you're conceding a lot of goals.
He changed it as well on Saturday. He started Tomori over Christiansen, but I just think we need Rudiger back. I think he's going to be the leader of that back four, and I do think when Reece James is fit, I do think he will get a few starts ahead of Spanish Dave.
Yeah. I guess it's like with every club though. International break now, you're hoping that your players come back fit.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one thing Chelsea probably can't afford is to lose some of the more established players. But I don't know. A point's a point. I think Sheffield United will upset a few teams this season, and they play with a lot of passion. And I love their manager. He's so frank and honest, isn't he? His name isn't Frank or Honest, but
he's not scared to say what he really thinks.
And I think that's a good thing. Point's a point, but I'm glad you admitted that you were having me on, pulling my leg, because that's been going on for quite a while now. Anyway, so we'll stay in London. Arsenal Spurs. Few things from me. I think playing Sanchez at right back wasn't too sure about that, especially when Serge Aurier's on the bench. I know he's not fully fit, but I think that's why. I know we've mentioned it before, but with Kyle Walker-Peters being injured, it's maybe an area that Spurs should have strengthened, obviously with Trippier going to Madrid. So that wasn't great. I mean, he didn't have the greatest of games, but he's out of position. So I think you can probably allow him for that. I guess the main talking point is Harry Kane dive. I'm not sure what you think.
I didn't think it was a dive. I just don't think there was enough for me. I think to give a penalty for that. I wouldn't say he intentionally died. I know
he's looked for it, hasn't he?
He's looking for it. He's backing
into
it.
He's initiated the contact and gone down under that contact, but I'm not. I wouldn't call it a dive.
I wouldn't say it's a dive, but I wouldn't say it's a penalty either. I wouldn't.
No, I'd agree. Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think it was a penalty.
But sorry,
carry on, Chris.
Yeah, I was about to say. Obviously, we just spoke about scoring goals before and after half time, and Lacazette scored one, obviously, for Arsenal just before half time.
That was the most disappointing thing for me. I think in the first half, I mean, we can cover the points. David Luiz, for me, he's done exactly what he did against Mo Salah last week with Son, where he's too close to him. Instead of sort of taking a step back or staying put, he steps into him and allows Son to turn him, which then he lays it into Lamella, which leads to the goal.
Just can't help himself, can he?
No, he can't. And I mean, granted, Zach, the penalty. There's so many people that have said they actually missed the penalty because they were following the ball. The tackle was so late that they didn't see. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And it's kind of similar to the Chelsea game. We were both 2-0 up and went on to draw 2-2. But the Lacazette goal, I mean, Spurs had so many chances to just get rid of the ball. And it just kept coming back. It just kept coming back. And it's a great finish.
Nice finish, yeah.
That goal gives them the momentum. And to be honest with you, I think even when it was 2-1, I was a bit worried. I was worried to the extent where I think I would have taken a point before the game, especially with the performance against Newcastle last week. But I think that because that gave them the momentum going into the second half, I was quite happy with a point in the end, to be honest.
Guendouzi, I think that's how you say his name.
He had a good game, didn't he?
Yeah, he for me, he's one of my favourite players for Arsenal. I don't know what it is about him, but his ball for the Aubameyang goal was inch perfect. And literally everything that Arsenal were creating going forward, it just seemed to start with him. He was definitely man of the match, but it surprised me that Ceballos didn't play or didn't start because I thought he's played okay, and I think him along with Pepe, Aubameyang, and Lacazette, it's a really sort of potent. Well, they started very attacking, didn't they? With Pepe, Lacazette, and Aubameyang all up front.
How weak are they at the back?
There's no denying
that's Arsenal's problem. It's almost like they'll score 4, but they'll let in 6. It's almost like how Newcastle used to be years ago under Keegan, where they would score more than they concede. But I think Arsenal are going to concede more than they'll score. I mean, Eriksen, I think that's a long-running saga. I think that's
over now, isn't it?
That's a good thing. So. I mean, there's a lot of just to sort of finish off on this game. There's a lot of talk about Spurs in the press at the moment, and a lot of negativity. And I love Poch, and I hope he stays at Spurs for a long, long time. But I think part of the thing that's causing the problems is his comments he makes in press conferences or after games, where he's saying about he should be a coach, not a manager, and that when the transfer window's closed, he's going to have a party and all sorts of things like this. And I can't help but think that a lot of the, and I think Kieran Trippier said something in the press this week, hasn't he?
He said about, it was a step up, not a step down.
Yeah.
The first thing he said, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, I know that he's saying that he heard rumours that they were going to sell him, which is never a good thing. But I just kind of hope now the window's closed. I know it's all going to come back around again in January when we've got another transfer window and players who are in the last year of their contracts can sort of sign with other European clubs. So I'm sure it's going to come back around in January. But I almost feel that this is almost like the top of the curve for this Spurs side, that if they don't do something this season, then I think players might start to go. I wouldn't necessarily we've gone backwards from last season, but I think it's time's running out to start winning trophies, I think, for Spurs, and they've got to start doing something pretty quickly, I think. But yeah, I'll take a point. Just frustrating we lost to Newcastle, because that point we've gone to Arsenal and City and drawn both, which isn't
It's not bad. Actually too bad, is it?
No, it isn't. It isn't too bad, but so we'll go to Southampton Man United. I'm not sure what's going on at United.
I say it's such a weird feeling when you're watching them. Like there's something going on, and I know that Chelsea are struggling. So but after they beat Chelsea 4-0 first game of the season, and that just seems like they peaked right there. And then ever since then, they've gone. And I still stick by that they should have replaced Lukaku. They should never have sold him until they actually had someone there. I know they're pinning a lot on Rashford scoring the goals, and he's not at the moment.
I don't think he wanted to play there though. I don't think he wanted to be at United. But I don't know. Is a half infused Lukaku.
Why didn't they? But why didn't they sign someone? I really don't understand. But
they got good money for him as well.
Yeah. Saying that, Southampton, obviously after the sending off, which was stupid. I don't know why he's gone.
It's a crazy second yellow, wasn't it? Really.
They actually Yoshida came on and they actually defended really, really well. But to be fair, they weren't put under a lot of pressure. They dealt with what they had to, but I don't think Man United went on. Man United against 10 men, you'd expect them to be scoring a couple of goals, but they just didn't look. I don't know what it was. It just wasn't working for them. But
I think that there's starting to get a clear divide between. I know we'll talk about Liverpool and Man City later, but they're almost easily expected to win. And I think this is where there's a gap between them and the rest. That United in this game and even with Palace last week, they will put pressure on, but not pressure like they used to when Alex Ferguson was there. There's pressure, but you don't have much confidence that they're actually going to get a goal. All possession and that in the final third doesn't really mean a lot. I mean, what struck me with this game before when I saw the team is if you take out Rashford and Pogba from that United side, but bearing in mind how inconsistent both of them are, but if you took them out at their best, that is a pretty average Man United side. I think even with Harry Maguire in, where I think he probably has made them better defensively, and Wan-Bissaka as well. But to me, they haven't got. Martial's injured. They haven't got a lot going forward, and there's even United fans that are saying that they would have kept hold of Sanchez because if you look at their bench on Saturday, they apart from Mason Greenwood, who's he's unproven, he's young. I don't think they've actually got that much going forward, which is very un-Man United.
I see also that Wan-Bissaka has been pulled from the England squad.
Yeah, he's pulled out injured.
Well,
yeah.
So that's going to leave them. If he's out for a couple of weeks after the international break, that's going to leave them, pretty short at the back because I see they got rid of Darmian as well. So I don't really know. It's just very straight. And it almost feels like the norm now. Like when you watch, like 6, 7, 8 years ago, you watch Man United play, and you would say that they were at what Man City and Liverpool standard are now, but they've just slowly just dipped every season, just kind of dipped, and now you don't expect them to win every game. Through the 90s and the noughties, they were the team to beat.
They've lost that fear factor.
Yeah.
They've absolutely lost that. I mean, just to close this one off, one thing I noticed with the equaliser, so with the Saints goal, there was 9 United players in the box plus the keeper. So there was only one outfield player outside the box, and only 4 Saints.
The head, he got ahead. I think it was Lindelof, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was always going to win that, but there was 10 United players, including the keeper, and only 4 Saints players in the area when that ball came in, and he still managed to get ahead of Lindelof. I mean, he was always going to win that header. And in a way, I mean, I think United might have been a bit lucky that Saints went down to 10 men, because I think if it had continued 11 against 11, I could actually have seen Saints going on and winning that.
I did feel sorry for Hasenhüttl a little bit.
Man, Hasenhüttl.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a point for Saints. It's a good point. United, I don't know what next. But anyway, we'll move on. So we'll go to the King Power for Leicester v Bournemouth. Bournemouth defending for the first goal. It's almost Leicester of old, wasn't it? I mean, I don't want to say it was a long ball from Chilwell. It was a it was a long, accurate pass.
But they were playing a high line, Bournemouth.
Oh, far too high.
And it was almost someone like Vardy. You can't be playing that far up because he will spin off you. Any ball over the top, he'll spin off you, and he's quick, and there'll be defenders out there any defender lucky to catch him once he's gone.
But it was almost like the two centre backs. It was almost like they looked at each other and thought,
"You've got
Vardy's there. We better do something about this." But just on Vardy, so 2 goals and an assist in that match. Where do you stand with him in England? Is he still got it?
Oh, he's still got it. I thought he retired. I thought he wasn't going to be playing anymore for England. I thought that was it. I can't remember if he has retired.
He can always change his mind.
But he'd be probably up there, wouldn't he? Like, he's definite.
But you put him against Rashford at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm picking Vardy.
The finish, the actual, obviously when he gets through, most strikers would think to just go up to the keeper, go round it, and go and just pass it in the net. But he just decided to lob it instead. And I was
he scored a similar one. I think when they won the league, I'm sure he scored a similar one against Liverpool.
Yeah,
but, I mean, it was more of a well-struck volley. I'm not saying that he didn't hit that one well, but sorry, Chris.
The other thing in the game was the Tielemans.
It's a red card. It's definitely a red card. Why is VAR not looking at that? How is that not clear and obvious? I mean, I like the guy. He's a good player, and he'll do really well for Leicester. But I don't even say it was intentional. But why is it not picking that up? I mean, I don't want to see players sent off, but it's a red card.
I'm right thinking he didn't get booked for that either. I can't remember.
Did he give a foul?
I don't think he did. No, I don't think anything happened from that. But it was an awful tackle, and
it was awful. Just quickly to wrap this game up, is it inconceivable for Leicester to go top 4 with how the other teams, the other so-called Big Six, and how inconsistent they are?
Well, I think at the moment there could be a couple teams. I think. This season, you're going to have the top 2. I think is going to be pretty obvious, and then I think from 3rd to about 8th, it could be anyone's. Literally anyone's at the moment.
I fancy Leicester for top 6. I don't think it's that crazy to say that they could get in top 4. Because for me, they're pretty solid all the way through. Whereas
I
mean, I'd rather have Leicester's midfield and strikers than I would United's. I think.
Yeah, I remember when Rodgers took over at Leicester. You weren't that. You didn't.
I'm not a fan. No, but I've got to sort of swallow my pride a bit. He's doing a fantastic job there. I'm not his biggest fan, no, but yeah, he's doing a great job, and I think they're showing the form at the beginning of the season that could carry them through. So we'll have to see. Yeah, but I mean, a good win for Leicester. Bournemouth didn't look great to me. Poor defending cost them that game, I think. So Everton Wolves. Where do we start with this one?
Probably the best game of the weekend.
I think it's 2-1 after 15 minutes, I think. But here's a stat. I don't know if you've got this one, Chris, and if you have, I apologise. But Wolves have won all 6 of their European games, their Europa League games this season, but have not won in the Premier League.
Yeah.
It's the curse of the Europa League. I mean, it definitely wasn't a game for defensive fans, people who like the art of defending. I mean, it was that the first goal was probably a prime example, but there's a mix-up at the back, and I think it's not going to be your day when the shot is hit into the ground, and it's the fact that it's hit into the ground and bobbles up that means it goes in. But I've just got to say about Iwobi, because I think
I'm literally about to say that.
we were quite critical of him last week.
A bit harsh on him last week, and I thought he was one of the best. If Richarlison hadn't scored twice, I think he was probably the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he played really well.
Because he heard us talking about him, and he was like, "I'm not having that." It's same with Salah the other week.
I think we've given him the kick up the backside he needed.
Sending off.
Yeah, 2 stupid yellow cards. 2 really stupid yellow cards.
I never understand. If you're on a yellow card, surely you're going to be more careful. If any, he just didn't even care. He was like, "Nah, you're not going anywhere, mate."
It's funny you say that, but so you've got Willy Bolly, you've got the 2 yellows at Saints, and then I know we'll talk about it later, but Trezeguet at Villa. All 3 of them 2 yellows where they were just stupid fouls, in my opinion.
Correct.
But I mean, Amana Traore, oh my God, that guy for Wolves, he's like an NFL running back. He is so quick and he's got such like a low center of gravity that he's almost like impossible to stop. I mean, prime example was the first goal. If you're Everton, you just get the ball out, just hit it in row Z. But he gets the ball and then a few tricks, then he's in behind and then across, and it's an equaliser. But no, it's the defending for me. Everton's 3rd goal as well. I mean, how on earth he was allowed to get that cross in for Richarlison to head it? I've no idea.
No, him either, was it really?
No, I think it was poor. I think it was poor defending. But just back to the red card. So he's now suspended for the Chelsea game, which isn't great. But Everton doing all right this season. The goals are starting to
scoring goals.
They're starting to concede it. Yeah, they're starting to concede again after all those clean sheets. But I think the Villa game was probably just a bit of a slip up, but Everton Wolves, they'll both be there or thereabouts, won't they? They'll
I think
be
Wolves
in contention with each other.
Hopefully not against Chelsea, but after the Chelsea game they can pick up form.
Yeah, okay, but they might hear that, and then they'll do that.
Oh yeah, no, I'll take that back.
Yeah. So Palace v Villa. So, does VAR stand for Villa are robbed, Chris? Do you like that? Villa are robbed.
I'm assuming you are talking about the last moments of the game.
Yeah, I think that is the talking point.
I would say that it was a foul, and I think they got it wrong, and very wrong.
Was it a foul outside the area, but he stayed on his feet? Because I mean, Cahill gave him a bit of a wallop as well.
He gave him a whack, but you know, I don't. And the thing is, if the referee gives it, is he going to give it for the first or the second? You know, I'm not sure. But
well, with VAR, he shouldn't give it for any.
No,
but I believe I'm right. What everybody is saying is the reason that we couldn't go to VAR on that one is because he blew his whistle.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to say, when he'd blown his whistle.
So you can't. Yeah. So then the play stops. You can't go back to review it. I mean, if you're a Villa fan, you're going to be fuming.
Robbed. You're going to feel robbed, aren't you? This is the thing. I think VAR's had a bit of a hammering this weekend as well, obviously with this decision and the one in the previous game as well. But you know, move on. I'm sure they'll pick up points elsewhere. It's not like they played badly, Villa. You know, they did.
No, but VAR's meant to take these decisions out. If Villa go down by a point, then
the thing is, they shouldn't. He should have got sent off for starters. They probably would have had a bit more of a chance of winning the actual game.
Well, it's easy for us to say because we don't follow either of them. But yeah, I mean that's. But Palace in top 4. I think the other thing I took from the game is if I was a professional footballer on a yellow card, I would stay as far away from Wilfried Zaha as I possibly could.
Yeah.
Because he's so quick and he's so skillful that he's just going to almost like skip away from you, and you're just going to stick a leg out and
he's going to draw
second yellow and off you go. So we'll go to Man City Brighton. I'm not sure we need to cover Man City anymore. I mean, they always score loads and don't let any in, but
very good.
I guess
let's just say that the last thing you want to be doing against Man City is conceding a goal within the first 71 seconds, and I think you kind of set the tone of the game by that. I think Brighton as well, they changed their formation slightly to be a bit more defensive, but
I think they played 3 at the back. Yeah,
didn't work, did it? So
no. So here's another stat for you, Chris. I'm sorry, I'm taking all your thunder away. I've got a stat and then I've got a point. Yeah, but Aguero. So Sergio Aguero's got 170 goals in 243 matches. So better than a goal every other game. But do you know, and I think he joined City in 2011. Do you know he's only ever finished top scorer once? If you think of all the goals that he scored, he's only ever finished Golden Boot once, which was the 14-15 season where he got 26. I found that
that's good.
Pretty amazing, really. You've got that one. I can hear you rubbing it out as we talk.
I've not got that one.
The other thing, the injury to Laporte. Now it looks pretty serious. Now I don't know what you think about City's cover at centre back. I mean, admittedly, for the majority of the teams they will play, they'll have so much possession that you could pretty much put anyone at centre back. But when they're playing the bigger teams, I think it leaves them with Otamendi and Stones really as recognised centre backs. And I'd say Laporte's one of the, well, maybe apart from Van Dijk, but he's definitely one of the better centre halves in the league, if not in Europe. So I think he'll be a big miss for him.
Depends how long he's out for, and because it was a tackle he made, wasn't it, on another player, and then he ended up injuring himself. So
yeah, I think that the next big test you could see that they have, I think, is Liverpool in November, but they reckon he might be out until past then. So I guess we just have to wait and see. So speaking of Liverpool, 3-0 winners at Burnley. Again, sort of with City, pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
did we expect anything else?
Yeah, the first 20-25 minutes, Burnley actually played quite well. But they had a couple of good chances. Ashley Barnes was being a bit of a handful, but as soon as they got the first goal,
how was that an own goal?
Because it's been
given. Yeah, I know, but I don't know how that's been given as an own goal.
Hasn't it got to be deemed a shot on target for him to actually have the goal? I thought that was the rule.
Yeah, maybe. I just thought it was a bit harsh.
The keeper was flapping a bit anyway. I think they were saying he was expecting the cross, so that was why he was off his line, but it was a bit silly. But but
I don't even think it was that much of a deflection. But
the game changed with that goal. It was as soon as they got that goal, Liverpool looked a lot more comfortable, and I'm not really too sure what happened with Mane when he was subbed. He didn't look very well. They couldn't tell whether he wasn't happy about being subbed or whether it was the fact that Salah didn't pass to him.
Oh no, it's all about Mo Salah. It's all about the pass.
When he was free, wasn't he? He was open. Yeah. Salah went for the shot, but
your man Bobby Firmino, first Brazilian to score 50 Premier League goals.
It was a good goal as well.
It was a good goal.
But yeah, again, I think you're going to be hearing this a lot this season. City and Liverpool, pretty much dominating both their games.
I think we've struggled to look past those two for the title. So 2 more games. West Ham, Norwich. West Ham look pretty good. I think Haller looks like a signing. He's a sort of striker I think that they've lacked in recent seasons. I mean, obviously they had injuries with Andy Carroll and Chicochicho's gone now,
He's
hasn't
gone
he?
Sevilla.
He's gone to Sevilla, yeah. But yeah, I mean, all credit to West Ham. How that was not a penalty, I have no idea. That's another VAR thing from the weekend that I just cannot get my head around it. I don't know how they're not awarding a penalty for that.
West Ham, Norwich though, it's probably the worst I've seen them this season, but then it's probably the best I've seen West Ham this season. So, I thought, and Krul actually made some really good saves second half. So fair play to him.
Yeah. I still think it's funny with the start that Norwich have had, and I think that they're in the bottom three now, which just shows what a tough division and what a tough season it's going to be for them. But I still think they'll have enough. But West Ham, not disappointing. I think there was always the inconsistency around them, but a couple of good displays now, and points on the board, which is good. Which takes us on to Newcastle-Watford. So Watford, their first point of the season. Will Hughes,
making up for last week.
He can score from 10 yards, but he can't score from a yard. I mean, a bit of a lucky deflection, really. I mean, it broke to him, but he still had to finish it. The equaliser. So, based on the decisions that have been given through VAR so far this season, do you think this one should have stood? Because I mean, Lascelles, it hits his hand. There's no sort of getting away from it. So,
it's tough with these ones when the hand is. It's just hot. It's difficult, really, because the hand it's been an inconsistent decision from VAR, I feel, throughout this season so far. I don't really think is there a clear definition of what it has to be for it to be classed as handball, or is it any stroke of the hand is handball?
They're saying clear and obvious, but I mean, if you look at the goal that City had disallowed against Spurs, and then the one for Wolves on the first day of the season, I mean, neither of them are clear and obvious, really, or deliberate. I mean, I just think there needs to be a little bit of consistency with it, really. It's either if we're going to class all of those types of instances as handball, then they all need to be handball. We can't sort of pick and choose which ones we're going to...
It was a good finish, though.
Yeah, it was a good finish, yeah. But, yeah, so, I mean, Steve Bruce, I mean, they're picking up points, Newcastle. I don't think they're going to sort of set the league alight, and neither are Watford, really. So, I don't want to say it was a dull game, but it was a pretty dull game.
We spoke about it last. That's never good.
Yeah,
never
absolutely.
Good spoken about last.
So that finishes our review of the Premier League action from the weekend, and also concludes part one of today's podcast. So in part two, we'll be taking a look at the action from the EFL leagues, and we've got our weekly Yeovil Watch from the National League, with a live update as well, because Yeovil are actually playing tonight. Then we'll have a look at the predictions challenge special coming up this week. We'll take a quick look at the Champions League draw. Chris will do his wonders of white, and we'll have a go at answering Pete's teaser. So we'll see you in part two. Hello and welcome back to part two of this week's View from the Sideline podcast. So we're going to start part two with the EFL review. So we'll start in the Championship, where Swansea won the battle of the top two at Ellen Road. They beat Leeds 1-0 to move 2 points clear at the top. So Swansea still undefeated this season, and that was their fourth win in a row. And it was the first defeat for Leeds this season, and sees them drop to third in the table. Because of that defeat, Charlton have now moved up to second. They're on 14 points. They won 2-0 away at Reading. West Brom are up to fourth after a 3-2 win over Blackburn. Bristol City and Fulham make up the playoff places in 5th and 6th. Both picked up a point in draws at the weekend. At the bottom, really surprising for me, Stoke. They're still rooted to the foot of the table after a 2-1 defeat away at Birmingham, a game in which they were leading.
You know, their manager used to play for Yeovil.
Well,
Nathan
that speaks
Jones.
Volumes. Do you know he's won something like 3 or 4 in 26, something ridiculous.
Doing well then.
And I know Jack Butland's been dropped. I don't know if that was to do with some sort of transfer, but I don't believe that he's left in the window. But that's now Stoke's 3rd defeat in a row, and they've only managed to accrue 1 point this season. Huddersfield are in 23rd. They suffered their 4th defeat in a row, losing 2-1 away at Luton. And they've also just got the single point, and Wigan make up the relegation places after getting their first point since the opening weekend with a 0-0. What have I said? 0-0. 0-0 draw with Barnsley. So Stoke and Huddersfield at the bottom. I actually tipped Stoke to go up last year after relegation from the Premier League, so shows what I know. So we go on to League One. So Ipswich remain top of the table after their 3rd win in a row with a 3-0 home win against Shrewsbury. Ipswich are the only unbeaten side in League One. Lincoln are up to 2nd after a 2-0 win at home to Fleetwood. They're joined on 12 points by Blackpool, Coventry and Wickham. All 3 teams drew at the weekend. Sunderland are in the last playoff place in 6th, but they lost 3-0 away at Peterborough, which was their first defeat of the season. They ended with 9 men after 2 sendings off. At the bottom, obviously the news is now confirmed that Bury have been expelled from the Football League, which means that only 3 teams from League One will be relegated instead of the usual 4. So Bolton, they remain bottom on -11 after another defeat. They lost 5-0 away at Gillingham. Southend are still to get off the mark after their 6th defeat in a row. They lost 3-0 at home to Rochdale. So, I mean, take out the points deduction, Bolton wouldn't be bottom of the league because they've got more points than Southend.
They've signed 9 players yesterday, so.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll start moving up the table. I mean, I guess the first step was to stay in business, which they've managed to do. So that's something. Wimbledon, they occupy the final relegation place, but did get a point at the weekend with a 0-0 draw at home to Wickham. Then there's a 2-point gap to Accrington Stanley and Tranmere, who sit just above the relegation zone. So that's Championship and League One. Over to you, Chris, for League Two.
League Two, Exeter remain top. They beat 10 men Mansfield by a 0-0. Newport, who've started well this season, have moved up to 2nd after a nice away win against Forest Green. Crewe are in 3rd after they beat Bradford by 2-1. Grimsby beat Walsall to move up to 4th. So Grimsby struggled last season, so obviously turn things around there. 5th are Swindon after they beat Morecambe by 3-1. All the goals in that game and that 3-1 game came within the first 20 minutes. So it was a good first 20 minutes there. Plymouth moved down to 6th as they lost 3-1 to Northampton. Macclesfield in 7th as they drew 2-2 with Stevenage. So obviously after the news of Bury being expelled, there's only one team that are going to be relegated from League Two. So that's Scunthorpe at the moment. They remain bottom after they lost at home by 0-0 against Carlisle. But just above them, Stevenage managed to score their first goals of the season against Macclesfield. So they finally registered 2 goals this season. So yeah, good news if you're at the bottom of League Two. There is only one team that is going to be relegated. So
I don't think how does that work with teams coming up then?
I don't know.
Or does that not change for the National League?
No, there'll still be 2 teams going up, I believe. I don't think that's going to change.
Okay, but I suppose because there's only 3 coming down, it evens itself out. Okay.
So Yeovil, the weekend, a great win finally. Obviously, after a few defeats, it was good to see them win. They won by 3-1 against Notts County. So that was the other team that went down with them last season, and they've moved back up to 12th. So yeah, a big positive, that win, and hopefully they can push on from that. They are playing tonight. They're playing Sutton United tonight at home. That one is 0-0, but from what I can see, they are dominating the game. So hopefully they'll be able to get a goal in the second half. But yeah, a positive week so far for Yeovil. A few more players brought in on loan as well. So see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully they can get 3 points tonight. It's certainly a couple of wins in that league certainly changes the the complexion for you.
They'll go up a few places if they win tonight. So
fingers crossed. Right. Okay. So that's the lower league summary. So we're just going to move on to predictions. So the wives have had their go, Chris. They won. They might have won both rounds. I feel like I can
move on to next week.
Well, I feel like I can sort of mildly gloat because you lost. You came third in both weeks. At least I came second.
I'm just giving everyone a bit of a head start.
So yeah, you're currently languishing second bottom of the table.
But that's the thing. I can't finish bottom. It is impossible that I finish bottom
because of Lewis.
Yeah.
Good old Lewis. Thanks for taking part, Lewis. So this week, double header. So there's no Premier League or Championship action, but we've still got predictions for the League One and League Two games. So John is taking part in that for us. He's been badgering us for a couple of weeks in a good way. In a good way. Yeah. John. So John's doing the League Ones for us this weekend, and then we've got a bonus round with international matches. So I think they're all Euro qualifiers, Chris.
I didn't pick any friendlies because I thought that would be a bit silly. So yeah, they're all qualifiers for 2020.
Okay. Do we want to talk about your San Marino error quickly? When you submitted your predictions, you had San Marino winning. If it wasn't for my eagle eye.
4-0, yeah, that could have been a bit embarrassing. They'll probably win 4-0 now. Biggest win in their history. And it'll be me with egg on my face. So
that would be impressive. Yeah. So 2 rounds of predictions this weekend. So we will, as we normally do, the results will be out after the matches. You can go to our website at www.vftsl.co.uk where we've got all the predictions details. So the table and all the weekly results are on there. So the table makes for interesting reading. Obviously, each week as it goes by, we get more people added to it, and it becomes even more interesting. So let's move on to. We'll just talk about the Champions League draw quickly that happened last Thursday. So I think from the perspective of the English teams, I think they'll all be pretty happy. I think Liverpool and City especially.
Oh yeah, Liverpool. They got Napoli again. That would be their only. I can't really see Salzburg or Genk really putting up much of a fight against them, and City as well.
Don't Man City always get Shakhtar, don't they? They seem to play
a little bit
all the time.
But I would say City have probably got the easier group out of them all. Atlanta, I don't think have ever been in the Champions League before, so. And Dynamo Zagreb and Shakhtar Donetsk. I don't think the draw could have been more favourable for Man City.
No, I'd agree. Chelsea have got a tricky group.
You got Ajax, Valencia, and Lille. I think they're all sort of the same sort of. How do you put it? The same. If you do it on star rating, they would be the same star. I think all 4 teams are. especially how Chelsea are playing at the moment. It's going to be a tough group. I think it will be tough. Some of those games are probably going to be tough.
I think it's interesting because, Ajax aren't the team that they were last year. And then when you look at Valencia, they had a really strong end to last season. I think they won the Copa del Rey, and had a really good end to the campaign. Obviously, finishing in the Champions League places. So I think that could be tricky. That's probably the group that I think will be closest.
Yeah.
I think. For Spurs, I don't think they should necessarily be I don't think we should be afraid of Munich. But I would certainly see Spurs and Bayern Munich being the two teams that progress from that group.
Can we say a prayer for Slavia Prague as well? Barcelona, Dortmund, and Inter in their groups.
Oh, ouch! Yeah, that is
it's not looking great
tough
for them, is it?
No, but Madrid and PSG obviously drawn together as well. I mean, there's going to be some really, really good ties in the Champions League. But I think it always gets interesting when you get to the knockout stages, doesn't it? I mean, if I'm a Liverpool or City fan, I'm not really getting overly excited about the group stages, to be honest. I think it's going to be pretty...
Group G has got Zenit, Benfica, Lyon and Leipzig in there. You think that's going to be a close group as well. So, and two teams from there going through to the knockouts, they're very happy with that. But yeah, good draw.
Decent draw. Yeah, decent draw all around, I think. So we'll move on to your feature, Chris, the wonders of what. Please blow our mind with your stats from this week.
You've not stepped on my toes at all. But although the first one is a Jamie Vardy related stat. So Jamie Vardy has been directly involved in 14 goals in 14 Premier League games under Brendan Rodgers. That's 12 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah, very good.
On 2 previous occasions, Chelsea have been in the same Champions League group as Valencia. The Blues have reached the final.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
Amen. Yeah. Arsenal have recorded 13 errors leading to goals in the Premier League since the start of last season. That is the most by any club, and in fact, Leno has made the most of any player with 6 of those faults. So we were saying how shaky their defence is. And here's one for you. This one is... So Dusan Tadic, remember him?
Yeah, Ajax used to be...
So Dusan Tadic is the first Ajax player to score 7 consecutive Eredivisie games since Rafael van der Vaart in 2001.
He takes their penalties, doesn't he?
He was crap at Southampton, wasn't he? Let's not,
I don't know. I don't know whether he was or not. I just kind of think that maybe he wasn't playing in the right team.
But look, Van der Vaart...
I'm sure Tadic, a recent game, I'm sure that he had he took 3 or 4 penalties in the same game. There was a crazy stat about that.
Oh,
I don't know.
I like my stats.
Have a look for that next week. Great.
Next week.
Good stats there, Chris.
Thank you.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And a feature that's going really well. I think that we're all learning. Every day's a school day when we get your stats. So last thing to do this week is to return to Pete's teaser. So which team in Premier League history has lost the most matches? So I guess, who have we got that's been in it the whole time? United, Everton, Spurs,
Chelsea, Arsenal,
Liverpool. But they're teams that have always... See, this is the difficulty with this one, because they're teams that have always been in and around the top. So you would imagine that each season they don't lose a lot.
And you got to think there might be teams like Newcastle as well. I know they've gone down twice, but in those seasons that they've gone down, they probably lost 16, 17, 18 games at least. So
yeah, but it's even teams like Derby. I mean, Derby have been sort of back in sort of 10, 15 years ago. They were pretty regular in the Premier League, and they lost a lot of matches when they went down.
West Ham.
Well, I tell you what. God, do you know what? I was just about to give you who I thought it was, and then you've thrown West Ham into the mix. I'm going to go Everton. That would be my guess. My guess would be Everton.
No, I'm with you on this one. I think it is Everton because I think I've actually seen this one before, and I at least probably a year ago, and I think it was pretty close then between Everton and West Ham. So unless one of them has lost more in the last year, it could be West Ham.
The reason I'm going Everton is because that was the first team we said about ones that have been in the Premier League since the start. I'm going to stick. If you would allow, I'm going to stick with Everton.
Yes. Well, well, last time I checked, a year or so ago, it was Everton. So
we better check again.
I'm going to go with Everton on this one. And so Newcastle are third with 342 losses. West Ham are second with 365, and Everton are first with 366. So they are one. So they are one ahead.
We are 4 for 4.
Yeah.
We're getting pretty good at this.
Tottenham are fifth, by the way. Tottenham have lost more Premier League games than Southampton, Sunderland, Blackburn, Middlesbrough, Fulham, Bolton.
This isn't a question. That wasn't the question.
I got carried away.
We don't need to. We don't need to know. We don't need to know about Spurs' shortcomings. Okay, so I think that's it for this week. I guess we should point out that we're not here next week.
No, we've both been called up.
We are
in national duty, so
yeah,
we're not gonna be here.
We are the water boys for the England team. No, we're just giving ourselves a week off due to the international break. So, but as obviously we've mentioned, the predictions is still running. So we'll still be posting all the updates from that over the weekend. Actually, I think some of the games are Monday. Is that right, Chris?
So the international games are running from Friday to Monday.
Okay.
Just because some of the games were a bit too obvious, so I wanted to pick ones that looked like that there was going to be a half decent competition in. So
yeah. But we'll get the results out on social media once the games are done. So that's episode 4 in the bag. And like I said, we won't be here next week, but we'll be back the week after for a full episode, full Premier League review. I know Spurs have got Palace at home.
Chelsea have got Wolves
so
away.
Hopefully that'll be 3 points. Wolves away.
Yeovil is still 0-0.
Come on, Yeovil.
So, yeah.
You can do it. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And we'll speak to you in a couple of weeks.
See you later.